Welcome to another post-game edition of the Silver Bulletin. I'm here with our Lantern sports editors, Colin Hasil and Edward Sutland. Colin, first quarter, it turned out to be a 62-14 blowout, but that first quarter was a little strange. What are your initial thoughts about how the game went, how the game started?
I mean, the first quarter was just a lot of chaos, and it felt like it was going to take forever because it did take forever. I think it took over an hour to get through those 15 minutes, and there was an injury to Brandon Bowen. There were multiple special teams blunders. Everything you could have asked for was in that first quarter, including the Ohio State offense.
Yeah.
They looked good.
They actually did. Now, as good as they did look, Ed, the team did seem to falter when it came to special teams. What did you see out of them on the special teams?
I mean, they seemingly made a mistake every possible time they had a chance to make a mistake. You had the botched snap on the point after try from Nurnberger that ended up just being a total debacle down the field. You had Nurnberger's missed field goal later in the game. There was the shanked punt that went about, I think, 22 yards. There was, of course, the kickoff out of bounds, and the biggest blunder of all was that Nurnberger, who was coming in to replace Hallbeal, who had been the target of a lot of criticism from Coach Urban Meyer, Nurnberger kicked it right to the middle of the field, and Ty Johnson returned it 100 yards for a touchdown because nobody was positioned to play in the middle of the field. They were expecting to cover the corner. Special teams really it didn't look great. As Meyer said, he was really disappointed with it. He's been disappointed with it all year, and it was clear that even though his team played well overall, Meyer was not happy with how his team looked today.
Yeah. Now, going back to you mentioned the Brandon Bowen injury. What does that mean for this offensive line?
I mean, it's interesting just in the fact that Brandon Bowen beat out 6 guys to earn that job. He seemingly did what I think a lot of people thought was impossible. He's 6'7". He doesn't look like an offensive guard. He looks like a right tackle. Yeah. And that's what he is. But he played well enough that he earned that job. And I think a lot of people were impressed with how he did. Now, right guard isn't his natural position, so it did look at times like he was a little bit stiff. But they're going to miss him just in the fact that he's better than everyone else that they have at the spot. Now, I think Matt Burrell is solid. Yeah. And I think he's now healthy after he had that sprained foot earlier this year. But I mean, TBD on how bad it'll hurt the offensive line. I think they'll be fine in general, but it's never a good thing to happen.
Yeah. Now, like I said, it was a blowout. Personally, to me, it didn't look, because of all the special team trouble. You don't know in a close game what that can mean.
I disagree with you. I think they looked really great on offense and defense.
Yeah,
I think. Go ahead.
Offensively and defensively, they did look great. But I'm saying when you're in a close game with a better team like a Penn State, you can't afford all these special teams.
Yeah, I'm not saying that they can afford that. I think that they would have lost if they had every single one of those things happen on special teams against a good team. Yeah. But they didn't. And on offense and defense, I think on offense they looked as good as they have all year. And they keep on talking about this upward trajectory. And I think it's totally true. I see it every single time that they get on the field. I mean, you see JT Barrett has this connection with the receivers that he didn't have a few weeks ago. He just throws balls that he didn't before, and then there are other balls that he doesn't throw because they don't work. And then you see Mike Weber. JK had his fumble, which was the first time he's had that. Yeah. But the running game struggled a little bit, but they were sort of buoyed by the passing game. Yeah, this was the first time that I even felt
really
that.
Strange, yeah.
And then on the defensive side of the ball, the defensive line dominated, as they have every week. And Urban Meyer said this is the best that they've played.
Yeah. Now, going to the defense, they did score their first time, although Robert Landers did score, but it got called back. This was their
Don't
first.
remind me of how sad that was.
Yeah, right. This is their first actual defensive score. Is that something that they need to do to be able to win those close games?
Yeah, I mean, to a degree, I think that they do. You never want to have a defense that's based on the ability to score. But last season, that was such a big aspect of the Ohio State team, was that, you had guys like Malik Hooker who were seemingly on a regular basis returning interceptions for a touchdown. You had several scoop and scores from last year that just haven't been there this season. I think that the Ohio State defense is going to need to show that, they can force turnovers, because that was a bit of a struggle. Forcing turnovers has been a bit of a struggle so far this year. They haven't done it at the same rate that they did last year. And I think that today they really showed that not only are they capable of forcing these turnovers, but that they can return them for a touchdown, which is, again, like I said earlier, you don't want to like have the defense based on that ability, but it certainly never hurts.
Yeah. Early predictions for
Time
Nebraska.
out. We both went super hot takes on it a couple of times. You said that it doesn't hurt for them to score defensive touchdowns. I said it doesn't hurt, or it's always bad if a starting offensive lineman gets hurt.
Yeah.
So yeah, we went real hot take.
Very
on
nice.
that one.
Very hot take. Now, a chance for a hot take. Any early predictions for Nebraska?
I think they'll win pretty handily. I mean, if they have this upward trajectory, I don't think that Nebraska is a great team. I mean, they destroyed them last year, and I don't think they're going to beat them that badly because that was insane.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to win, and I feel pretty confident saying this. I feel a lot more confident than I thought I would just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, definitely seeing them still put up 62 points in this game builds a lot more confidence in the team to be able to like go out and perform better throughout the season. Just because, like I said, they weren't as clean as they could be with penalties and stuff like
I mean, it builds more confidence because they're good right now, and they weren't good earlier in the season. I think that's what it comes down to. I think that they're really good right now, and this is when they need to be peaking.
that.
I would say that, you know, the penalties have been a bit of an issue for them, you know, like you
I agree.
mentioned.
Yeah.
But one thing that I think sort of counterbalances that is the fact that when you have an amazing defense like Ohio State's playing right now, it doesn't really matter. Like I was telling
Yeah.
Colin before the interviews, Ohio State actually had more penalty yards than Maryland had total offensive yards in this game, that's not a stat that you see very often.
Yeah.
So it's like, against a better team like Penn State, Ohio State really can't have these kinds of penalties because it will come back to hurt them. But as long as the defense keep playing as strongly as it did tonight, they can't afford to have a couple of miscues on defense.
One Nebraska thing that I'll say is they will be without Damon Arnett for the first half. So I'll be interested to see how they play with. It'll just be Kendall Sheffield and Denzel Ward on the outside, and then it'll be true freshman Jeffrey Okuda in the nickel. I'm really interested to see how he plays.
He did make a nice play in this game.
Yeah, it was the very first play that he was in there after who was it? I don't know. They lost so many cornerbacks, and I don't even remember which of the ones
it was after Damon. So.
Yeah, he made a great play and then got real hyped. And Jerome Baker made sure to mention that in the postgame.
Well, that's all we got for you this week. Be sure to check back tomorrow for the Silver Bulletin with highlights and recap.